Thomas has a really interesting notion of virtual production because it's a hybrid. And the idea is that everybody, whether you're physically at NAB or you are somewhere else in the world, can feel like they have a front row seat at a table. Eric Schwertzel runs a company called ScreenKist, based right here in Vegas. Eric is launching a new show, and you can see a little bit of what they're doing over in the booth. That is virtual. It's not only is it virtual, it uses an avatar as one of the main characters in the show. So some human, some synthetic human, all creating a show together. So I am going to ask them each to tell you a little bit about what they do. Then I'll tell you about what Rene does, who maybe had one drink too many last night. And no, he was up for a Best of Show award, so we'll hear about that. And so we'll talk a lot about what does it mean to be virtual, what should be virtualized, what shouldn't, and how do you keep your artistic sensibility high as you continue to create virtual environments. Eric, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about ScreenKist and what you're doing here?
Sure. Thanks for the introduction, Robin. My name is Eric Schwertzel. I'm based here in Las Vegas, and I have a software program called ScreenKist. And what it does is it kind of takes virtual production technology or the concept or the different definitions that Robin outlaid and makes it simple. And we've done this primarily because our target audience are corporations. It's primarily Fortune 1000 companies that want to have a cool environment for the CEO, for example, when they talk to their employees on a quarterly basis or even on a weekly basis, where we can change the background and also do what we call virtual cameras, meaning all the camera transitions are actually within a 3D environment, so you don't need any camera operators. So the benefit on that is twofold. One is our studio is very inexpensive and our software is inexpensive. The studio is roughly $12,000 for the hardware, and the software is roughly $2,000 a month. And it's comparable to a TV studio that literally cost millions of dollars a couple years ago. We have several clients that big Fortune 100 companies that have a fixed TV studio that they do a lot of their productions on, but then they want something in some of their satellite offices. So that's what we do. So we sell software that does all this. It came from a background of big virtual productions. So I have a movie that's on Apple TV called Perfectoverse, and a big budget and, big names behind everything and a lot of money and time, and it took us 6 months to do. And what happened was I was out to dinner with a bank CEO, and he's like, "Hey, I love your movie, but I want to be in that when I talk to all my employees because nobody's watching my Zoom or my WebEx videos because they're boring. It's just basically me and a talking head." So that was the inspiration of the product, and that's how we came about.
It's pretty fascinating. And the game, Eric nailed it. So we just did another event called Rene. It's so good to have you here. I'm going to move down one.
Sorry, car issues.
Okay.
Here we are.
Rene, ARwall, nominated for Best of Show here at NAB.
Oh, yeah, and we won the AI category.
Get out.
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
Thank you.
So we'll fill you in. We're talking about what does it mean to be virtual production, but Eric just described what he's doing.
Great.
And so question to Eric, and I'm seeing this everywhere. We did an event called Silicon Valley Video Summit, and it was basically everybody's in the video business now. We're talking Airbnb, we're talking Slack, we're talking Amazon, we're talking Meta. There's not a campus, Lowe's, Home Depot, that doesn't have a production facility, and they are looking to virtualize more. And Eric's exactly right. The CEO doesn't want to just stand there being a talking Zoom box. And even Zoom, if you've been on the show floor, has added quite a number of features for corporations to personalize their brand and give it a sense of feeling. So you're seeing this trend of virtual production throughout not just the world of television content and broadcast, but the corporate world as well. Rene, why don't you tell us about your night last night and tell us about ARwall and how you think of virtual production?
Of course. So, ARwall, we're a virtual production software developer. We also do consulting and act as a virtual production department. We've got three different divisions at the company that makes us pretty unique. So we in 2020 we launched a prosumer version of our virtual production plugin for Unreal Engine. That prosumer version ended up selling quite a few units, and we learned a lot about independent creators working in virtual production, what they were up to, and kind of what their needs were. So,
And that was a physical unit, right?
that was
the box.
it was a physical unit, but it was also a specific innovation in the software. We were able to figure out how to take the virtual production plugin, which is usually stuck in Unreal Editor, and actually pull it out of Unreal Editor and into the map itself. So the dials that you would usually be using, like for example in the development side of Unreal Editor, those actually become like a video game menu inside the map itself. So that innovation allowed us to deploy these scenes internationally and service those clients remotely. During the pandemic, you can imagine that was extremely important. So that innovation allowed us to address those kind of low budget indie clients. And then yesterday, we were very happy to get a nomination for ARFX, which is the evolution of that prosumer and indie virtual production product line. Now at this one, we have a desktop app, we have a marketplace, configuration tools, we have a mobile app, and then the thing that we won the award for was a new AI virtual production tool called Infinite Studio. And what this does is allow you to generate your 3D environments using the help of an AI chat agent, such that you're literally coming up with these environments and then shooting on them in less than 5 minutes. That's a market difference from the weeks
So
or
I can just say, give me a new background or English commands.
Yes. So what most people will call like a chat GPT style interface, where you have the chat agent. This is a chat agent that stays with you from the beginning of the project all the way to the completion of a project. So if you're working on something that's like 1950s sci-fi or something like that, you do not need to go then and tell the other AI models, hey, I'm making a 1950s sci-fi. Like, you don't need to say that 100 times to the different models as you generate the assets. The chat agent will generate the prompts for you so that you get the results for the film that you're making.
Okay. And I've just been replaced by the real John Canning. I'm like a terrible fake, but I mean, I did you well. I did you well. I said who you were, but you are up to, we're taking off where you're going to ask Thomas. So John Canning from AMD Partnership.
Late. Let's just be clear.
Well, let's just say you had a long way to walk and a rough night. So I'll be the Vanna White out here.
Your coffee. Yeah. Okay. Who here has had that? The monorail broke down. They couldn't take the luggage. Yeah. That all happened to me this morning. Thank you.
So let me fill you in on where we are.
Where are we?
Eric has talked about his view of virtual.
You got him to shut up?
I did. It was hard. We have an award winner next to you. Rene won last night.
I won the AI category. We won the AI category, dude.
And John Canning from AMD supports a lot of partner efforts and a lot of young companies who are startups in this space. And now you are about to interview Thomas and talk about Canvas.
Scintillating things about Thomas's life. So, Thomas, how long have you been out of prison? Oh, wait.
Many years now.
Not the conversation? Okay, go. All right, Thomas, tell me what the heck you're up to.
Yeah. So the Canvas platform brings virtual production-like workflows and many other technologies, generative AI, AI neural networks in the cloud, Zoom capacity on screen, as you've seen with shows like Tony Robbins during the pandemic, all ran on Canvas technology. We also have a large studio here in Vegas called Wara Studios, where some of the largest bidirectional engagements on massive LED walls in a circle, up to 38K resolution, are running multiple instances.
What is bidirectional?
Bidirectional meaning the audience can at any time make communication with the host on stage. And that in meetings where there's 150,000 people present in a production.
I was just thinking of a filmmaker in the audience going, wait, stop. No, okay. So You're talking more of the Tony Robbins presentation theater stuff.
We do much more than that. So we're in multiple verticals, from education to influencers, life improvement, corporations, Fortune 500 companies. White & Case, by example, has an instance in New York now with a 40K resolution LED wall where they create internal meetings and rent out the space as well to other corporations to bring these tools into valuable meeting quality. So basically, taking what we do, in essence, is we bring the power of all these tools together, which are developed in separate sections, such as Zoom, you have Unreal Engine, you have all these technologies that basically never talk to each other. We make it fully transparent to the user to stage all that without knowing anything about Unreal Engine. So we can actually power virtual production-like workflows without people even understanding that they're running Unreal Engine.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, if we'd have done this panel a year ago, and probably some of you were running around this show a year ago, we'd have put the title virtual production up there, and we had all been trying to avoid saying Mandalorian, Mandalorian, Mandalorian. But all of these people who I've one way or another, we haven't worked together yet, but I work with these guys in one way or another. To me, virtual production now is packing a lot more into that word than it's a film production or maybe a TV production. And I think, all the auction's been sucked out of the room this year by AI. Congratulations on winning.
Thank you.
But so the state of virtual production isn't just film. And I think each one of you can lean into, and you've already started talking about it, this essence of, if I've got an LED volume, or I can do more with it, and is it still a science project? What are I just want to go shoot, right? If you think about the early days of digital production, early days of volumes, it was all a science experiment of got to get the right geeks in the room, and at those various stages. Are we now more at and I hate to use the word plug and play, but is this just another tool in our toolbox?
Oh, in our case, we've worked 9 years now on the platform, and it is plug and play. We license to people who's never used the game engine, have absolutely no knowledge about anything virtual production flow, workflow, or even have any employees setting that up. And to speak to that, at Water Studios, there's a single technical director that runs that entire place. So not only are we able to take away the friction of executing very complex tasks, we personalize them highly, and we make sure that they can focus on the experience, which is what corporations and many other parties need to do, as they don't have time to build out multiple stages of live recordings. For them, everything is live, meaning they don't have a second shot. So it has to be incredibly transparent to them that they can, and hence the name Canvas. We keep the paint wet is kind of what we do. We make sure that everything at runtime can be modified, changed, and that the experiences can be incredibly easy to the user. So it sounds easy, but it's incredibly difficult to take the elements out of the way that require understanding, and even understanding of the editor. So we do these things at runtime in packaged environments, so that nobody needs to ever touch an Unreal Engine editor to run any of the projects that we've powered.
So it's basically live production with extra stuff.
Yes, and I would say where we come from is, let's play a clip if you want to. It may exactly. So
is it a relevant clip? Oh, okay, that's good too.
So this one here is actually the space in New York at White & Case. This is all running Unreal Engine in 40K resolution. Nobody at White & Case has ever touched Unreal Engine. And this project actually won the AV Project of the Year. It's called the Quorum, and by Convene. Convene operates the space. And from day one, they've been hosting there some of the most important meetings in New York, including the UN, celebrities, you name it. And actually, in not so much time, there will be so many more things happening there as we're going to update the space to our second version of the software. So this is, as you can see with the seats, it's a hybrid setup. And maybe let's go to the next slide. Here we have Gentry from Nike, who started his own shoe brand. This is a photo of what happens at Warner Studios here in Las Vegas. That's a 60-foot wide LED wall in the round that hosted his shoe launch. Let's go to the next one. Here we have Zoomtopia. Canvas actually powered Zoomtopia. All these live people on screen are staged inside Canvas. The chats and the emoticons are rendered generatively in Unreal. At the same time, we're running 16K videos in the back, and live social media feeds are feed in. When Zoom called us, we had 2 weeks to power the show, which was make or break for the company. And this won the prize of the best hybrid event in the US. And Tony Robinson's won the best virtual event. So 3 years in a row, we've been having the chance to unlock some potential for these companies and bring what everybody's thinking about to reality without actually needing complex cycles for production, handoffs and complications and expertise and whatnot. So let's go to the next slide. This is coming on stage. So the Canvas platform can play any media, not just Unreal. These are all things done where everything runs at the same time. And here you can see the shoe launch. There's also augmented reality involved in this broadcast. So everything comes together in ways where the experience is really at the focus. More things of Warner Studios here happening, large virtual and hybrid events with up to 150,000 people powered and joining on screen and being able to talk to the host seamlessly. So all these elements are driven from an iPad with ease, and every iPad interface can be programmed for every user and every stakeholder in, if that's a simulation, a show, a presentation, a meeting. And then, of course, Riot Games, which really put us on the planet. At the beginning of the pandemic, we ran Unreal Engine in the cloud for the first time with a full production where 5 million viewers were watching the the LCS broadcast from Riot Games, so an esports event. And then last but not least, Jensen Huang also licensed Canvas to bring to life his CES keynote speech in 2017, which ran at 300 Unreal Engine before display or any of that existed. So we could invent all connections with GPUs running on P6000s at the time, and you know that those were not as fast as today, in bringing to life a 300-foot screen where everything was on demand, so nonlinear presentation from Jensen Huang. And then Nike and other examples, product launches, you name it, everything has been powered by the same platform. And so from YouTuber all the way to Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, we cover all these ranges, and all these companies are licensees from our platform.
Great. All right. Rene, I'll come back to you. Wake up, Rene.
What's up?
Hello. And I think this is like the pandemic stories of the evolution of virtual production. And, we see that there's a number of cases of, using it for because we're communicating with an audience that couldn't be there and things like that. And you guys have pivoted a couple of different times and evolved your product. And where are you seeing the uses?
Yeah, just to go back a little bit, in 2016, we started off as a pure consulting company, and our first product was $240,000 a year. And that was just to hire us to say, hey, what's up? It's basically for virtual production in your stage. And it's evolved now to the point where I think we have an entry-level product, which is a single scene pack that's $74.99. So that's a little bit different of a price point. And I think that's that price difference, I think, speaks most of the story right there, which is we got from something that basically nobody knew how to do, and that we were trying to figure out, with a bunch of USB cables kind of just everywhere floating around, and then eventually got it into a product, and eventually got it into something that was a product that we didn't need to support ourselves.
But you were actually shipping kits to celebrities in their home, like a pop-up stage.
Yeah, so we had this thing called Home Studio, which during the pandemic, quite a few celebrities bought, and what they did was pop this thing up and on their 4K TV. Some of them did use a projector, and a couple of them purchased entire LED volumes specifically to do this. The one that's most notable is definitely Terry Crews, the host and actor, host of America's Got Talent. He became familiar with the technology through America's Got Talent and then built his own stage in Pasadena. So we built the stage, run the virtual operations for that. So he went from like, hey, this is something cool in my living room to like, this is a full-on space. And what he does with it is basically he gets approached by different brands to be the spokesman, like, you know, yogurt or a little gadget or soap or something like that. Usually internationally, like Japan and stuff like that. So usually what he does is he flies over to their thing and he gets a single check to be the spokesman. And then he flies back and he's got no creative control. He's not a partner. He's not a producer. He's nothing, right? On that project, he's just the spokesman. Now what he does is he says, hey, you come to my stage, use my tech, my crew, my lighting, my LED screen, my software server, everything like that. You get me as a spokesman for free. And I'll just come in and pop in and do whatever you need to do at my stage because it's 2 blocks from my house.
And he needs a way to monetize all that equipment. So there you go. All right.
Very affordable, I guarantee.
Cheap. All right, Eric, you're taking a slightly different tack. I like all of these are different examples of variations on a theme. So your theme and where you come from to building the product you got today.
Sure. I think what we're seeing are 2 main things that are kind of changing everything that we're doing. And what I mean by that is, the first thing is the hardware, the CPUs, GPUs, and neural networks that are out there that allow us to do what before, like Rene said, you know, it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars and now only costs, say, $10,000. And that will probably be $5,000 next year and probably $2,500 in 2 years. So what that means is it kind of democratizes all the content creation tools that are out there. The other thing that we see that's huge is shifting budgets. And what I mean by that is we work with Fortune 100 and Fortune 1000 companies that say, hey, we're going to take our Super Bowl ad budget and instead we're going to hire 50 influencers to say what their take is on a sports event, but in their city, and we need 50 portable studios and we need it next week. So these are the things that are changing dramatically. It's shifting budgets because they're all going to the eyeballs, and the eyeballs are primarily on YouTube or TikTok or social media. And so those are the channels that are resonating with these large, you know, direct-to-consumer brands. One of the things that's kind of really interesting is brands that are doing direct-to-consumer shopping channels. It's huge over in Korea and China. Hasn't really taken off yet in the United States, but we're starting to build these studios for companies to do that. I know an athletic brand, I know a travel brand that are all doing this, and these are at scale, not just 1 or 2 studios, but like 50 studios around the United States because it's inexpensive, it gets eyeballs, and it sells product. At the end of the day, that's what it does.
Awesome. All right. Now let's go to what are some of the hard things you're trying to overcome, right? I mean, we've kind of like, okay, LED volume, awesome, check. Tools are getting easier. Unreal is getting bigger, better, faster, stronger. They're starting to plummet more for some of these activities. But what are the challenges you're facing in each one of your businesses today? You're trying to overcome. What's that next hurdle to moving this forward, to being ubiquitous or, you know, getting every customer to just say yes?
Well, I would have to think more deeply about it to be specific, but what I think is hurting the transition for these technologies to be adopted, and I think we, on this panel, we kind of share that vision, is that on the receiving end, nobody can control and be an expert at everything. And that is the real problem that we see as more features in Unreal come up. Well, we've seen our Unreal team from being just a couple of people to grow to a team of 15 to do the same work. So that is where I see.
And those Unreal people just fall off the trees, right? They're just
hard to find, and this is a very high demand expertise. So I think the next step is, to me, very obvious, and the generative AI and the way that is growing, I feel will replace the necessity of having these expertises to be aggregated to come to results. So what I'm seeing as a transition, and we're already doing that in Canvas, is only when necessary, complex scenes will be built. But at this point, our clients are starting to use generative AI in resolutions up to 12K, and really successfully modeling that by understanding how to talk to it. And that is the new expertise that I see growing. Is it's not just that AI will fix it, but you also have to learn how to talk to it, how to work with it, how to understand it, to optimize it for what it is you're trying to achieve. In my opinion, applying more expertise, spending more, trying to train people harder is not the way forward. I think it is more understanding how to adopt these technologies and the generative AI and other elements to tie into and make them available on screen, not on a computer. And that is what we do. We make it possible in Canvas to literally have your LED volume on and to type what you want to see, and downloads it from the cloud instantly. And this is where we cut all the loops of the necessary handoffs that we know can be complicated. Even sending a large file to a corporation can be a whole thing. And so we're really thinking about bringing it to the edge, making it all in the hands of the person who needs to make the decision with the client, where the moment needs to be more effective. And that is where I see we're trying to overcome the mountain of technology and complications and complexity that has grown over time into let's completely bypass that and abstract it so that anybody can operate the LED volume just by thinking about what they want to see.
We're not quite to that syncing to the screen yet, right? We still have to type probably.
Yeah, that is indeed a hurdle.
We're working on that.
We're working on that as well with the chip in.
Thank you, Elon.
Yeah, actually, I want to add a quick anecdote on that. I think for what we're seeing in the marketplace is a lot of entrepreneurs are now jumping into what we're doing, and they're all recently laid off from large entertainment companies or game companies. We're getting approached by people that have started a small startup, but they were, an Unreal game engineer at a big game company for 10 years. They have money because they've been at that game company for 10 years, and now they want to do something on their own, and they're coming up with these new creative things that are just something that they probably always wanted to explore at that game company, but the game company wouldn't let them do it. So I think right now we're at this precipice of just amazing content that's going to come out, and a lot of it's going to be supplemented or augmented by AI, whether it's like Sora or Runway ML or, our technology, your technology, your technology. So I think we're going to see like new categories of entertainment and what I'm calling consumerism, meaning different ways of buying products.
Rene?
I think just reiterating some of the things that have been said about the complexity of the tech stack, and one of the things that we find from filmmakers is we now have a contingency of filmmakers in the industry who have used virtual production, and a good percentage of them have a bad taste in their mouth. Like they're just hitting a level of complexity on set that is insurmountable, and many of them are.
Let's unpack that. So when we say the bad taste, there's some people. Is it what parts of the virtual production aspects? Where is the complexity? Is it what are the things that are the sticking points that have made people go, okay, I'll come back to this when it's better, or when your next generation comes out, or So what do you see?
So virtual production is kind of like you have to balance 3 different tech stacks together. And when you balance them together and the world working together, then it's smooth.
What are those 3 tech stacks?
So it's basically the LED screen, the tracking technology, and then the rendering of the scene. So the signal, the actual hardware, and then there's the camera tracking component. This basically comes down to that type of thing. So it's usually, a balancing act to make sure, like, okay, these are all functioning together, they're all compatible together, everything's working together. But the second that one of these fails, it looks like the entire thing is broke. Like it looks like it's off balance, and then the entire thing seems like it's just gone and not working. And it can be difficult to explain that to filmmakers in the moment, and that the balancing act didn't work for them in that moment. And this is a balancing act that we prepare for before the shoot date, where everything is stabilized, everything is ready to go. We have the content, we have all the specifications, so that when that shoot happens, there's no disruption. It's very stable and very balanced. And that is something that takes a skill to do. And I think, if you don't have that skill, you end up in a situation where you're trying to explain something. And for those filmmakers that haven't gotten the good explanation of what's going on, what they perceive is, a kind of a mysterious, complexity, and then kind of a, communication issue about how to explain it, and then like an extreme lack of flexibility, unfortunately. And if you think about all three of those, it's almost like the dark side of the plus sides of virtual production, which is supposed to be like high levels of flexibility and, hey, everybody knows what's going on because it's right there and you can see it. And then like, it's super fast and easy. And it's like each one of those can become a dark thing.
Dark, mysterious hole. It's sort of like, well, you can't control the weather if you're doing an outside shoot. Think about controlling software.
So one of the things that we're facing right now is, we have to literally show the person how simple it is because they won't believe us. Because we have to literally like, it's this, and then they go, oh, then that experience that they had then starts to float away.
All right. So, folks out there in the crowd, have we mentioned anything that was confusing, needed better definitions? You got burning questions? Oh, she's got a burning question. I'm not going to explain why I was late again. It's painful.
The monorail.
Monorail was one of them.
I was hoping that you could further clarify for the challenges for that 3 tech stack that you're explaining, the volume, the lights, the processor. Where is it specifically? Because that's where a lot of my role as a consultant is making sure that equipment is spec'd correctly for what the creator's trying to do. So any more details you could put on that?
Yeah, I mean, so just like straight up that the fact that there's a consultant that is specifically focused on balancing that tech stack, I mean, that should tell you a lot, right? That means that the people who are like own the stage and have the equipment, they don't have the expertise to do that. That's something a little bit, that's more like an IT/broadcast engineering / you kind of like signal technician kind of thing that's happening. At the end of the day, it's this. The server, has these 2 peripherals. One of the peripherals is the tracking technology. The other peripheral is the LED screen. I'm obviously dumbing it down, quite a bit here. But fundamentally, those have to be calibrated together. And you end up in a situation where the calibration breaks and then there's a 30 to 45 minute gap with the traditional methods to then get back up and get into that balanced calibrated, position. And there's many things that can cause that calibration to go wrong. Your RAM is corrupted. You're screwed. You're all of a sudden you're screwed because you can't send the file and read the file. It's like messed up, right? So any part of that stack can go wrong. So it has to be, fully tested ahead of time. It has to be stress tested ahead of time. And if possible, you have to use the actual content that's going to be that's you're going to be using on the shoot day to do that entire stack, because sometimes it's the content itself that is causing, the issue. So I don't know if does that address your question?
Oh, all of that. Yeah.
All of that. So if your question is it this that could be the problem? The answer is yes.
Yeah, it's additional layer. I mean, you're running a whack of computers, right? And everybody knows your computer never crashes. It's all of that layer cake of technology. And I think all of these teams here have taken their products to the next step to be, again, I don't want to plug and play sounds oversimplistic, but that's what you're trying to do, right?
Absolutely. To speak to the complications go ahead with your question first.
All right. It's burning. I can tell.
No, it was just a comment. One production I was on, we were doing car work on an LED stage, and something with the camera was just so like off, but in just a really painful way where it caused like a 2-hour delay, but it was something as simple as like a frame rate or like just something just so small that could have been addressed with an extra half hour of prep or something.
Mm-hmm. Story of my life. I mean, that's the preparation time. At this point, we make mandatory a half day for every shoot day. When we're a virtual production department, this is now mandatory in our contract. Because what, filmmakers either they have kind of that arm's distance kind of relationship with the technology, or they have a hyped up relationship with the technology where they're just like, dude, it can do anything. Let's just go. And you're like, wait a second. There's a prep time involved there. So it is important.
Thomas?
And to speak to the problems that can arise, what we've done to make sure that we get ahead of that is we have cloud logging systems that literally will look at everything. And we spend about 4 years now creating alerts and insights in what's happening up to the machine level. In the Canvas software, you can actually see what your GPU is doing, how many percent your copy engine is using. That's a very deep part of the driver, and that could tell you you're streaming too many textures, and that's why it's, chopping frames. So even if the content is staged properly, once you start to bring in live sources, once you start to bring in other complexity that they can't test at the inception of the content, you need insights that can tell you what's going on. Otherwise, everybody gets calls, and it becomes this nightmare of finger pointing and potential loop problems that nobody can really identify. So it's creating visibility, but it's also being ahead of it, because some of those symptoms that we see when things go wrong, actually there's always some warning sign before it actually will go wrong, from the network level all the way to how the computer performs to even how the package is running. Some of these problems are time-based. And it's impossible to do that with the naked eye and be in the studio and say, I think I saw that yesterday as well. Would that be the same problem? It's really creating the insights in what's performing on the Unreal Engine level, the computer, the GPU, the network, and everything together can be, assessed in a very smart way by tools that exist in the cloud. Therefore, you get insights that would take a team hours or days to find after the fact. And that's how we've been trying to address that with, I think, quite a bit of success, actually.
Eric, anything throw on that?
Yeah, I mean, even just setting up a trade show booth, you have to deal with the lights here that, shine on your green screen, and you're just like, oh, great. So things like that, or background audio that you might not have, I guess thought that would be happening in your area. So yeah, there's so many different things. Power. We're running 1400 watts on some of these computers, and say we need 3 or 4 of them. That's a big circuit. So yeah, there's all these strange things, or even somebody putting in a thumb drive and it screws everything up because it's using FAT32 instead of, whatever your file structure is. So there are all these kind of little gremlins. But I think as things like evolve, things are getting, we can brute force a lot of things now with hardware because the GPU is just so fast. We don't have to worry about texture sizes and things like that. So yeah, a lot of problems that, were problems a year ago or two are not. And I guess as we evolve, we're going to have new problems, but hopefully new solutions also.
I never met an artist that didn't try to break their GPUs. I like that. Oh yeah, we just have enough capacity in a GPU. No. Never will find a scene that, it's okay, No, it's bigger, better, faster, stronger. I want to thank the panelists. Thank you very much. Thanks for putting up with my lateness. I'll emphasize I was late. I know that. And thank you all for hanging out on a Wednesday as we wind this show down. Thank you very much.